Okay, guys, continuing chapter 9. This is lesson 9.3. Let's take a look at our warm-up. A cylinder has a diameter of 10 and a height of 25. What is the surface area? Okay, so we're doing surface area of a cylinder, and I'm flipping back to my notes here because I don't expect you to memorize the formulas. I don't even have them memorized. So when I'm trying to, let's see, it's a cylinder. For one thing, I want to say right away, I don't need the diameter. I remember that. My radius is going to be 5 because that'll really mess me up. Okay, so I need to find the surface area of a cylinder. So the formula for that is, and I'm going to have to write kind of small. They didn't give me a whole lot of room here. 2 times pi times the radius times the height, and that gets added to 2 times pi r squared. Okay, so let me get my calculator here. That's going to be 2 times pi times 5 times my height is 25, and that's going to get added to 2 times pi times 5 squared. All right, let's take a look here. So it's going to be 2 times pi times 5 times 25. And I'm going to round. That will give me 785.4. And I add that to 2 times pi times 5 squared. We'll also round 157.1. Now add those two together, 785.4 plus 157.1, and that gives me a total of 942.5. It is surface area, so it's going to be square inches. Okay, let's take a look at my next one. A cylinder has a radius of 8 and a height of 24. What is the surface area? So again, and I'm just going to follow the formula there. It's going to be 2 times pi times my radius, which is 8, times my height of 24, and that gets added to 2 times pi times radius squared. So 2 times pi times 8 times 24, and you get 1206.4, and that gets added to 2 times pi times 8 squared, which is 402.1. Okay, now add those two together. 1206.4 plus 402.1, and that is 1608.5 square feet. Now, we didn't really talk about it in our other lesson, but let's just talk about this a minute. If you have a cylinder, think about a really large cylinder, okay? And maybe it's one of those grain containers that people have on their farms. I can't remember the exact name. I'm not a farmer myself. But let's say you had a huge cylinder and you put all the grain, you kept all your grain in there, okay? Well, and let's say all the paint was faded on it and cracking and old, and you needed to repaint that cylinder. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. You have something like this, okay, and then of course you have this would be inside, but this, all your grain would go inside of there. Okay, so if you needed to paint this, you would paint all the surface on the outside of it. That's surface area. So you would have to calculate that surface area so you know how much paint to buy. Okay, so those of you thinking, I'll never use that, you know. Okay, well, you might. You never know. Okay, that would definitely be one way that you would use surface area. All right, let's take a look at this now. I'm going to be doing surface area of pyramids and cones today. So let's just talk a minute about the parts of a pyramid, okay? Just to remind you, the pyramid has one base and then everything goes up to the top at a point or the vertex, okay? All the lateral faces around, they meet at the edges, okay? And then that's a pyramid. Now, a regular pyramid is when the base is a regular polygon, okay? Now, with a pyramid, the true height is like inside of the pyramid. That's the true height. Now, it also has the slant height. Normally, we don't use that in our formulas, like when we've talked about triangles or when we talked about oblique shapes like we talked about yesterday. But we wouldn't use that normally, the slanted height, and then the actual height is inside of the pyramid, okay? I just want to make sure you understand because you're going to use the slant height in one of the formulas, okay? So just be careful there as you're looking at the shape or as you're reading the problem. If it requires the slant height or the height, just be cautious there, okay? So let's take a look at this. If you have a regular pyramid, here is the formula that you're going to follow to find the surface area, okay? So let me go like I've done before and explain to you guys. The big B right there stands for the area of the base. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a look at, like in this case, look at this base. You can tell it is a square. So how do you find the area of a square? That's the formula you would follow right there. That gets added to this section right here, which is half times the big P stands for, anybody remember? Hopefully you do. That would be the perimeter of the base. So again, if it's a square, it'd be 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, okay? And we're going to actually do this one problem here in just a second. And then that gets multiplied by that L right there, and that I want you to pay close attention to. That is the slanted height, okay? That's the slant height. So that's a little bit different than what we've seen before, okay? But you can tell here in the picture that it shows. You can see that that is on the outside, so that's your slanted height. It doesn't go straight down inside. It goes to the outside, so that's your slanted height, okay? So to do this one particular problem with this, okay, you have B plus half PL, all right? So the area of the base would be 10 times 10 plus 1/2 times perimeter would be 10, 20, 30, 40 times my slanted height, which is 13. Okay, so 10 times 10, of course, is 100 plus, and then you're going to do 1/2 times 40 times 13, and when you do that, you get 260. Add those two together, and your total surface area is going to be 360. It doesn't tell me, so that would be square units. So see, that's not hard at all, All right, let's look at the next one. This is going to be finding the total surface area, and this time they give you both, okay? I mean, they show both, but they're giving you the slanted height, okay? And then that 22, that's going to be like that side. So when you look at this, you can tell that that's a square, okay? So your base is going to be a square. So the formula is area of the base plus half times perimeter times slanted height. So area of the base is 22. So that's 22 times 22 plus 1/2 times perimeter would be 22 plus 22 plus 22 plus 22, or 22 times 4, which would be 88. Okay, And then your slanted height is 61. So 22 times 22, 484, plus 1/2 times 88 times 61 is 2,684. Add those two together and you get 3,168. It doesn't tell, so it's square units. Just don't forget to label, because that is required. All right, so that's a pyramid. Now, when you have the surface area of a cone, kind of think of an ice cream cone, okay? Here is the formula that you will follow for that, okay? Some of these you all may already know, okay? But you are going to use pi times the radius. That L again stands for slanted height, okay? Plus pi r squared. So basically you're finding the area of that circle, because that's pi r squared, and then you're finding the area of that face going around there, which is pi times radius times the slanted height. And then you add the two together, okay? So let's take a look at that. We're going to follow this exactly. Pi r L plus pi r squared. Be cautious there also. If they give you the diameter, remember the radius is half of that. Okay, so here we go. Pi times my radius is 12 times my slanted height, which is 37, plus pi times my radius again, squared, not times 2, squared. Multiply these and round. You get 1394.9 plus pi times 12 squared is 452.4. Add those two together and you get 1847.3 square units. Okay. Let's take a look at number 6. Now, this time, here you go. Here's my diameter. I don't need the diameter, I need my radius, which would be half of that, so 15. Just be careful. Okay, my formula, pi r slanted height plus pi r squared. So I have pi times 15 times my height is 17 plus pi times radius squared. Multiply these three. Pi times 15 times 17 is 801.1 plus pi times 15 squared is 706.9. Add those two together and you get 1508. Oh, no decimal. Square units. So see, not so bad. It's not so hard. Just follow the formula and don't rush. The calculator is the one that does all the work. You just have to make sure you enter it correctly. So good luck. That concludes our lesson.